Hello, everyone. Sergio here. Welcome, all teachers, everyone who's curious about the software. Welcome, everyone. Feel free to comment, share where you are, what you teach, what you expect to be learning from today's session. Bonjour, Gilles. By the way, the session will be in English, but we're going to go over several languages, I guess, right? We're all this is mostly for language teachers. So yes, North Dakota, excellent, nice, 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 nice. I myself coming to you now from the very northern tip, I guess, of South America. Coming to you from Colombia. I teach English, Spanish, and German. And I am the customer success manager at Speakable. So, yes, we're going to be going over some specific topics on these webinars. But if you have any questions, especially toward like after what I show you, like most of the features, let me know. We can go over them. So yeah, I mean, I of course I plan this to be like a very, I'm gonna say, relaxed kind of webinar. So feel free to jump in if you have any questions. We're going to go over several of the several features today. This is not going to be an in-depth look at the entire, I guess, portfolio of features from like in Speakable, but we're going to focus today on fluency, right? So sometimes, like there are many things we can do to help our students reach better accuracy. We want our students to conjugate verbs correctly. We want them to use the right articles. We want them to use the correct pronouns based on subject and object. All of those grammar topics are extremely important, and I would say that most of the time in class we try to focus on that. Sometimes we think that teaching is imparting knowledge, which it kind of isn't. Like there's a lot of information to share, of course, verbs, conjugations, prepositions, but in reality I think learning a language is more similar to learning how to drive than imparting knowledge, right? Because in the end, how do the students know if they learned? Well, by speaking, right? So it's by doing the action. But you learn driving by driving, right? Not by learning what the clutch is. So we're going to go over that and how to tailor a speakable activity so that our students focus on fluency and can improve their fluency, not just um, accuracy or precision or grammar contents, I guess. So yes, welcome. We're going to be starting. So let's begin by, well, I'm going to share my screen. Yes, I think this is a correct proportion. Maybe this is a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to begin today's webinar with focusing on, I guess a good balance in an activity, right? So many times we focus on, like we have this tunnel vision. And when we check the Discover tab to see what other teachers are doing, like there are many activities that are very specialized, Like this is one for respond. As you can see from the logos here, this is a respond activity. This is a written response activity. This is like a only response, only repeat, like in this situation, in these activities here. We have a mix of everything here, like a mix of multiple choice, repeat, written response. Let's see if we can find. Take a look at this one. This one is includes all of the action types. I was like, oh, this one, oh, this one's mine. So yeah, there you go. You will find many of my activities here, but I mean, a good speakable activity would tend to be very balanced. Now, just as a quick, summary, let's create an activity so that I tell you which one is which. So if you're new to Speakable, then there are four main page types or three student action types: respond, repeat, multiple choice, and the media page. These two are AI assistants in the creation of a Speakable activity. But of course, they all have their place. Yesterday, we were talking about listening and reading comprehension, and of course, multiple choice plays a big role in that. Um, and we spoke about the respond card as well. But the respond card can be very flexible, right? So we're probably not going to be talking too much about the repeat card today, since of course it's just for exposing our students to new language and having them repeat, which of course is important for fluency. But we're going to be going over like the respond card mostly. Right. So let's begin. Yeah. So what is a respond card? The respond card is basically the a question that you can ask your students, and they will respond freely. It can be as simple as "How old are you?" Right, and and you can simply work with that to full on dissertations about the importance of this specific topic or art or media or whatever. Right. So let's, if you haven't seen how this works, let me just give you a little demo. So I just added a prompt, a question or a prompt, in this case, a question. And I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to show you how like the auto grading works and everything. And later I'm going to show you how to apply that in a fluency context. So I'm going to click preview so I see what the student sees. And I'm just going to answer. I'm 35 years old. That's it. That's my answer. 2 seconds. But well, for that type of question, it's probably enough, right? And that's why I get, like, yeah, good job. Your response is clear and concise, directly answering the teacher's prompt. The way you express your age is appropriate and easy to understand. Keep up the good work, right? If I click on the suggested response, it's what I said, right? So I pretty much hit the nail on the head because, well, it's a pretty straightforward question. So, okay, how can we take a tool like this and focus it in a way that will help my students, be more fluent? And the first thing I want to focus is on the quality of the prompt, right? So if you don't want your students to get away with very short answers, then mention that in the prompt, right? For example, I can take this, so how old are you? And I can elaborate on it. Include your age, birth, year, yeah, well, your year of birth, and what else can we say about our age? And if you feel young or not, something like that. Okay, now the prompt is a little bit more complex. If I simply say I am 35 years old, it's going to be like, oh yeah, cool, that's good, but you missed the rest of the prompt. Like, what about the subjective part of it, right? Of course, the longer the prompt or the longer the answer that you're looking for, you should also change the respond time, right? So if you want your students' answer to, or you ask a very complex question, then you can extend this to a maximum of 3 minutes, right? So let me do that. I don't think I will need the 3 minutes for this question, but I'll just do it. I'll like have the example with this. So again, because the prompt is now more complex, I will not get away with simply I'm 35, right? Let's test it. Let's see what feedback I can get. I'm going to try again. I am 35. So again, it is correct, but now that my prompt is more complex, it did not give me a passing score. Right? It's like instead of the good job you saw before, it's like, try again. Why? Your response provides your age, but does not include the year of birth or whether you feel young or not, as the prompt requested. Try to answer all parts of the question for a more complete response. So if you don't want your students to get away with monosyllabic answers like, yeah, uh-huh, 35 or whatever, then include in the prompt, a complication that they need to solve. So that's one way that you can, give the like as the freedom to Speakable to make sure that that your students are, answering, complete answers. Let's test it again, but I'm going to try to include everything. So um, let me do it in this case. I can do it in the preview, or I can do it right here. Both options are good. So yeah, I am 35 years old. I was born in the year 1989. And I'm not sure if I feel young or not. I think I do. Some people feel that 35 is the moment where you become like an adult. I still feel like a kid in some situations. So I think, yeah, I still feel young. Okay, so that was my answer. So far we haven't focused on like as the mistakes to be corrected, but I might have made some. So let's check. So okay, I'm 35 years old. Your response effectively answers the prompt by clearly stating your age, year of birth, and sharing your feelings about your youthfulness. Oh my god, I like this. The detail about how you feel younger in certain situations adds depth to your answer. While there are minor grammatical issues, they do not hinder the overall clarity or meaning of your response. Keep up the good work. Okay, cool. So now it's a passing score. It allowed me to, to be more fluent, or let's say to speak my mind, and you become like an adult. Yeah, the like was unnecessary, and that's a mistake I was kind of aware I was making. But anyway, if I hadn't been aware, then Speakable would have let me know. But again, like the quality of the prompt will mean, I'm gonna say 80% of the victory when it comes to ensuring long answers are provided, right? So what happens if I try something else? I'm going to ask another type of prompt or another type of question. And this time it will not be very long like this one. Like I'm not going to include like the many things I need, but it's going to be naturally a complex sentence, right? So for example, I can ask, what is the moral behind the story of, I don't know, um, I used this example yesterday, so I think it's top of mind. I'm going to use it today too. The Three Little Pigs, right? So this is one that, even though I'm not adding any complications whatsoever to the prompt, it's just a simple question. What's the moral of the story? Then by definition, this type of question will force my students to, provide a longer answer. They will not be able to get away with hard work. Yeah, because it doesn't connect with the story of the Three Little Pigs. So yeah, let's try this out though. So I'm going to try my answer, and I'm going to try to be as fluent as I can. So try again, because this thing changed. So the moral behind the story of Three Little Pigs is that hard work is very important. The first two pigs were lazy and didn't do much. It was only until the third pig that decided to take time and effort building a solid house that that was the only one the wolf could not tumble. So yeah, hard work will get you into safety. That's the moral of the story. Okay, I don't know what I was saying, but that's kind of like the moral of the story. So let's see what Spiegel thinks of this. And by the way, you'll see that this is still, everything is in the default settings. I haven't tweaked anything at all so far. This is the default. So, and there you go. Your response clearly identifies the moral of the story, emphasizing the significance of hard work, which directly answers the prompt. Okay, so there you go. The quality of the prompt, either by adding complications like in our previous example, or by adding a question that will force the student from the beginning to be fluent, will get you places. So that's the first, I guess, tip I have for you when it comes to creating activities for fluency. Make sure that your prompt is complex enough, or let's say it forces a long answer. If you have a prompt that can be easily answered with a single or 3 words maybe, then Speakable will find it. Yeah, sure. Well, this answers the prompt, so it's going to be fine. But if you want, a longer answer, then and make sure that the prompt, makes sense for that longer answer. But how do we measure this, right? So how do I know that my students did or were indeed fluent, or if they simply, did provided the long answer, but were not fluent in doing it? So there are several ways you can do it. Number one is this thing that we just mentioned, right? So what if we have done this to expand the response time, right? So we want our students to have 3 minutes. 3 minutes more than plenty for 99.999% of questions as complex as they can be, at least for this type of activity. um, but what if I want to make sure that they tell me this in a quick way? So I can limit this again, say to 30 seconds, so that they are forced to say a lot of information in a short time, right? So sometimes we see the response time as, oh yeah, it's just to have as much time as they want. And you know what? For some situations, we do want that. We want the students to have as much time as possible, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we want them to answer a lot of information in a short time. Why? So that they can build on their speed, their fluency. So this is one way you can do it. Another way is like, okay, I already assigned my activity, but I want to know what my students did, right? This was an experiment or something. Then how do I know how fluent my students' answer was? Because of course, as you can see in the preview that we saw here, like there is no specific mention of, oh, great fluency. So how do I know that? Well, number one, like the response time would give you will get you there. But also, if you want to take a look at what your students did, I'm going to hop out of the activity creator and I'm going to go into one of my classrooms, right? And I'm going to show you what it looks like when it comes to grading these activities. So I'm going to check, this is a different language. This is a Spanish activity I created some time ago. And the reason why I went to this one is because I know that I have several students in this classroom who did the activity. As you can see, most of them did it. So I have lots of, let's say, ways to show you what happened. So let's take the first student, and I'm going to go to a response card, which is here. This is the way you collect, let's say, your the students' answers, and we can get some, let's say, preliminary metrics like, okay, yeah, this student did, found it easy. How do we know this? Because she took very few attempts in getting the right answers, right? So because of it, it's considered an easy activity. But again, let's go back to fluency. I'm going to open one of the questions, right? In this case, a response card. And I can see that in this case, this response took 5 seconds. There at a speed of 97 words per minute, and a total words spoken of 9. So as you can see, maybe my prompt was not the best at forcing my students to have a long answer, or let's say to go super deep into the answer. But I still, even with short answers, I have some metrics related to fluency. 5 seconds, 97 words per minute, 9 total words spoken. Let's check another student. Let's check Santiago here. The same question, and we have 26 seconds, 137 words per minute, and 61 words spoken. So as you can see, the metrics are there for you to understand. Okay, so the other student was 97. This one is 137. So words per minute is a very good example of how more fluent, or how Santiago was more fluent in this exercise than Angelica was, right? Let's take another question. This one, 163 words per minute. Total words spoken, 81 in 29 seconds. So this is probably a student who's an overachiever. It's like, this is a student who clearly wanted to say many things. As you can see, they're talking about Nemo. I don't remember this answer, but like this is one option. Let's take a look at another student. Let's open Daniela's answers. And as you can see, 97, same fluency as Angelica, more words spoken. So, okay, with this already, even without taking a look at mistakes or whatever, I can already see okay, I think my classroom as a whole is at the 100 words per minute mark. We have a couple of exceptions who are the overachievers of the bunch, but in general I feel that we can get a good idea of this already. Of course, if you want to check one by one, you can. I would recommend having at least one long question or one long answer question in every activity, so that you can have this sort of metric, and that way you can test it out. Let's take a look at Andrew's choice of words. 56 words per minute. So there you go. I can already feel, even though at a glance, all the sentences except Santiago's look pretty much the same, because they are type of like they kind of the same length, 28 words total. Was one with 30, something like that. So I can see that the length of the answer here is the same, but the words per minute is different, right? So I can already tell that Andrew is probably a student who likes to take his time, who made some mistakes, or maybe just in general is struggling a little bit. I can see what the AI told him, so I can get the balance again of fluency and accuracy in one answer. But I can already tell, okay, maybe I need to work with Andrew a little bit more on his fluency. So again, I can ask him more a longer questions, limit his time for response. Maybe 30 seconds was too generous, because if he said this in 30 seconds, he can probably say this in 10. So we can focus on the same activity, but with time, restrictions, something like that, so that he develops some more speed in his speech, right? But this is not the only thing we can do. Let's go back to the activity creator. Actually, let's continue with the activity that we have as a draft, because we haven't finished it. We haven't even titled it. So let's continue editing it. Let's give it a title: Fluency Exercises. Let's give it a cover. Why not? We're here. So we're going to focus on fluency. Let's see what Google Images tells me about fluency. Fluency, I like this one. I'm going to use this one. Even it has some funny stuff like duh and burp. Anyway, so let's create another card, another response card. But this time I'm going to show you how to zoom in on fluency, or let's say take more control over fluency in an exercise. So this is going to be an organization feature. This is going to be in one of the premium packages. But let me show you how this works. So there are many things you can tweak in the thing. So before, like this one, we were using the default settings. But here, let's start tweaking. The first thing is we can change the type of feedback that's provided, right? So if you want Speakable to provide feedback, but not, let's say, focus so much on the mistakes, right, or the grammar insights, then you can turn that off, right? So if you want the students to answer the question, but you don't want Speakable to, I'm going to say, shoot them down with the corrections, because you want to focus on fluency, you can turn off grammar insights. That will remove the thing that you saw where the mistakes were highlighted in orange, and particularly good parts of the answer were highlighted green. That removes it. So you can focus on the feedback, and that's like, good job responding to the question, without, let's say, focusing so much on oh, this grammar was whatever, so that you can truly focus on fluency. So you can turn this off if you want. Something else you can do is, depending on your students, level. In this case, this is an English activity, but I can change it so that this is, like a different language. And you can have the feedback be provided in the same language. Now, if you're teaching Spanish, you can have the feedback be in Spanish, or you can teach Spanish but have the feedback be in English, right? So if your students are still not quite there in terms of, confidence, or if they would not understand very sophisticated feedback in Spanish, then you can have it be in English, and that will boost their confidence, at least at first. But I think the most important thing you can do to focus on fluency and 100%, then is changing the auto grading type. So here by default we have the pass fail, and that's the one you saw in action, like where it says good job or try again, right? However, what if you want to zoom in on other aspects, and you want the activity to be, graded in a more nuanced way, then you can explore and experiment with rubrics. So rubric-based grading will allow you to take control over every single aspect that goes into the student's answer, or let's say the parameters that grade the student. So by default, the Speakable Standard World Language rubric is selected. I'm going to click on it to zoom in. And these are the three main fields that are evaluated. So grammar, relevance, and completeness. You can do many things with the rubrics, but we're going to focus on fluency. And well, which of these three is let's say more important for fluency? One would argue that relevance and completeness are the ones that are important, right? So we can double down on what we did with turning off grammar insights and just completely remove this one, right? So I clicked on the trash can icon here so that I could remove one of the fields, and now only relevance and completeness are going to be taken into account. So if your students make a mistake, but grammar is not part of the metrics that evaluates the answer, then all you're doing is focusing on fluency, right? Only completeness and relevance are going to be taken into account. So that is just using the standard one. So I am using the standard word language rubric. I simply changed it a bit so that the grammar section is removed. Let's try this one. So I haven't added the prompt. I added the rubric, but I haven't added the prompt. Wait, is it yeah, let me, I forgot to do this. I'm going to use this rubric, and, or you know what? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to take the copy, which I think I stored here. Yes, this one, and I'm going to use this one. So I'm actually going to rename it. And I'm just going to label it fluency, right? I'm just going to label it fluency so that I can find it easier later. And I'm going to use this rubric. So fluency, speakable, yeah, there you go. So I'm going to add a prompt, and this prompt is going to be, tell me in detail what you did last week and weekend. Okay, so I'm going to focus on this, and remember, this time grammar is not going to be the priority. It's only going to be relevance and completeness. So let's test it out. I'm going to be the student now. So last weekend was difficult because on Friday I got sick. I couldn't go to the office. We had a gathering at one of my colleagues' house. I couldn't go. I had to stay in bed. I had the shivers. It was horrible. That meant that on Saturday I didn't ride my bicycle, and on Sunday I pretty much just, I think, did the chores around my house, but nothing else. That's all I did on the weekend. True story, by the way. Was rather sick on Friday, but now I'm fine. I don't know. It was a very quick virus, I guess. I'm not sure what happened. But as you can see, okay, so your response or not, the prompt shows that you addressed the weekend activities, but you could be more focused and detailed. Try to provide clearer descriptions of what you did, and even if it was limited, avoid redundancy. Adding more about your chores and how you felt during those times could strengthen your response significantly. So as you can see, there's no mention of the mistakes. You can still see them here because I didn't turn off grammar insights for this one, but the grammar mistakes are not part of the feedback. And I can see relevance. Okay, sure, it was relevant, sort of, and it was complete, sort of, but it was redundant and it lacked clarity. So and I agree, because I hesitated here and there. I can still measure, probably a very high number of words per minute, which is good. But if you want to focus on, the type of content that was there and how fluently it was communicated, then you can change it in the rubrics, right? Let me show you what that would look like in the teacher's end. Sorry, like in the teacher's end, taking a look at your students' finished exercise. So I'm going to go and check another classroom, and I'm going to show you what that would look like. So this is a passive voice activity. I think this was in English. Yes, this was in English. And I can check my students' answers. I did it too, so I can check my own. But there was a rubric applied to this card, right? I think it was this one. Yes. So I can see that the rubric, or the different fields, in this case, I did have grammar as one of the fields, but this is a rubric I created specifically for passive voice. So I can do the same thing with my fluency rubric and just edit the scores, So this is something that you can still do. You can take a look at the metrics. Okay, 138 words per minute, total words spoken 32, and you can say, you can give it value. Like, what, imagine this is the fluency one, or if you have one for that, I'm going to give this student a 6 out of 6. I'm going to value their effort. You can still change all of this, rubric item per rubric item. Let's see how the other student did in this question, which was the last one here. So 62 words per minute, not as fluent as me, and 28 words spoken. So, okay. We can already have a good idea. But again, the rubric, she did very well, So this was not a rubric for fluency, but probably she was less fluent, but more precise. Yeah. So this is something that you can also check with rubrics, like the balance of accuracy and fluency. And of course, because you have control over the grades, even if it was AI graded, like all of these were, you can still change it yourself and change the values for each field, and of course the overall field as a whole. So that's something else that you can do to focus on fluency. And I think those are the main aspects, right? The quality of the prompt and rubrics will help you out with focusing on fluency. However, there are other things that you can do to have them talk. And one of them is, I'm going to say, more of a soft skill rather than a hard tip or trick at Speakable, and that is, it's always, well, depending on the age of our students, of course, media plays a big role. Like, we can have our students probably be more fluent if they talk about something that they enjoy, right? Rather than something that the teacher wants to say. So, I mean, depending on my student's age, the moral behind the story of the Three Little Pigs, yeah, sure, it's a good English exercise in this case, but is it the most engaging? Probably not. So, something else that you can do to boost your students, I guess, desire to speak up and to talk so you can get an idea of how fluent they are, is using media. So for that, the AI context is a good tool. Yesterday we focused a lot on the AI context. I'm going to just gloss over it, but maybe if you didn't attend yesterday's session, is going to be a nice thing to look at. So all questions here have all activity types have a media section. And in that media section, you can add images. For example, you can, add illustration of a house. Yep. And I'm going to add the illustration of a house. Let's see. No, I want one of the house rooms. I wanted this is what I wanted exactly. So I wanted to use this, for example. Yep. And I can have the prompt be about this. So according to this picture, in which in which room can we find the car? Something like that, right? And you can click on AI context so that you can merge the media with the prompt, and that way, Speakable will know what picture you're talking about, right? So you can do this for so that the question is about the media. And take a look at this. It gave me an idea of, okay, the image depicts a cutaway illustration of a two-story house, showcasing various rooms arranged in a colorful and organized manner. The upper floor has the bathroom, features a bright green wall, a bedroom designed for a soft pink green color scheme, lower floor, blah, 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 kitchen, surrounding the house or decorative, blah, blah, blah. So you can have a pretty accurate idea of what the house is here, and you can ask questions about it. But probably even more engaging for our students is add video. How attention spans are shorter, but TikTok in short format media is super important. Well, you can include that as part of your class, and that's another way to get your students talking. So let's click on media again, but I picked the right side here, and I'm going to add a video. I'm not sure what kids like these days, but not sure. Let's talk about I like what I don't know, what do kids like these days? Mr. Beast, I guess, YouTuber. Let's just go donut media. Because I'm not sure exactly. I'm just going to focus on something I like, and it's like, yeah, I like cars, right? And maybe your students like cars, whatever. There's a lot of car culture. I'm just going to say this, saying goodbye to my Mustang. I'm just trying to like YouTube or something that's funny or fun, and I can add it. And again, like, why did Nolan, I know that's his name, sell his Mustang, right? And it sounds a little bit less like this question now sounds less. Let me just go. According to the video, why did Nolan? Okay, there you go. So maybe a question like this would still help you out. Um, you know, have your students practice in the language that you teach, but in a more casual way, I'm gonna say, so that you kind of give them an excuse to talk in something that they can relate to. So that is, like, again, a more of a soft skills approach to focusing on fluency, or helping your students focus on fluency. Now, a little annotation here: when you use video like I'm using here, always test the context like we did in this one. Like when we hover our mouse here and like says, oh yeah, the upper floor, so it clearly works. But with video, I would recommend always checking, and it works. Okay, how do I know it works? Because I can see it like a summary of the video. And but the reason why I tell you that you should always test this with video particularly is because there are some videos that do not have words, right? And if they do not have words, then Speakable doesn't know what the video is about, because Speakable doesn't watch the video. Speakable reads the transcript of the video, right? So if your video doesn't have words, then Speakable won't know. Another thing is, you can try with songs, and songs are, I think, a very good medium. But if you are, let's say, depending on Speakable to know the lyrics of a song based on the video that you add, make sure that it works, because many record labels will block, like, they have an algorithm that will block the transcripts from being created in the first place, or being, I guess, generated. So if that sort of algorithm is in place, then Speakable will not be able to extract the lyrics of the video, meaning that you won't be able to use, or I mean, you can attach the media, and the students can watch the song, and can watch the video, but Speakable will not know the lyrics. Yeah. So you can get, there are some I'm gonna say workarounds for this if you do encounter this copyright infringement protection system that record labels have, by just using media that is very popular. What do I mean by this? Okay, so in general, like, how I can ask a question that is about general knowledge. Like, for example, in what year was America discovered, right? And I mean, even though I don't have any media attached to it, Speakable knows that that was the year. So I can show you that, like, even without any media AI context attached, Speakable knows. So I can say America was discovered in 2003. Yeah. And even though, I mean, I didn't tell Speakable, it knows the right answer is 1492, not 2003. So if you want to use something that, let's say, was blocked because of copyright or something, but it's, super common, ubiquitous, everybody knows about it, then you can ask it. For example, I can ask, in what language are the lyrics of the song La Macarena, right? Something like that. And I mean, La Macarena is so popular that it will know. Let's see, I'm going to lie. La Macarena was originally written in Mandarin, which of course is wrong. But I mean, La Macarena is very popular, and Speakable knows it was not originally written in Mandarin. It knows that it was in Spanish. So again, a little workaround if you're using real world, information, not just the story of Timmy or whatever, but if you're using something that's known, then you can, skip the media section, or I mean, just use it for I guess prettiness or just aesthetics. Let me add the video actually. I'm going to add the video, La Macarena. And I can just, oh, this is a remix. Anyway, I'm going to delete it. No remixes are allowed in my Speakable activity. I only want the originals. La Macarena. All right. Los del Rio. I think this is the original one. Oh my God, so many covers. Uh, Mix original. Okay, it says original. I'm going to use it anyway. So if Speakable, I mean, I don't tell Speakable exactly what La Macarena is about. I mean, La Macarena is such an obvious thing that you can still add the video without using the AI context, and Speakable will know about it. But anyway, to round up the idea, you can also use the media section and AI context to help you eke out the most amount of information that you can from your students, so that short answers are not enough, and the more complex the question, the better. And if you can change the pass fail the grading system to rubrics, so that it helps you out focus in fluency, well, that's another thing you can do, right? So anyway, I have been speaking alone for too long. I wanted to know if anybody here has any questions, or something they'd like to know specifically about using Speakable for fluency. Any questions, comments? Anybody curious about a specific feature? Or share your stories. How have you been using Speakable? Have you been using it only for testing your students' comprehension, accuracy, or I don't know, fluency, or general grammar? So we have one question: can it detect pronunciation? And that's a good question. If you mispronounce something, it will get it. Yeah. There is a bias towards like grammar, like because it tends to be more important. Like you will see that grammar mistakes tend to be uh, prioritized. And also, one thing is pronunciation. Like the things with pronunciation is there are many things that are acceptable, right? So, for example, if you have a question that if someone is using is saying something like data and not data in the case of English, right? Well, both are good. So if you have a bias towards one, Speakable will accept both, right? Because of course we have students all over the world, so those type of little things will not be picked up as a mistake, right? But glaring pronunciation issues will be. Now, French in particular is very mm, picky, I'm going to say, when it comes to pronunciation mistakes, because there are many subtle sounds and like the differences between some words are very small, right? So these can make pronunciation focused activities very difficult. For example, not necessarily in the topic of fluency, but activities that, like, teaching the numbers in French become um, become very challenging. Or let me show you what I mean. So I am going to make this bigger. Yeah, make this bigger. And I'm going to go, I'm going to create one repeat, right? Repeat is particularly important for pronunciation, because you can, let me change it. No, I'm going to make another one. I'm going to create another activity because I want it to be in French. So I'm going to change it here to French, and I'm going to start from scratch. Let's create a card immediately, and it's going to be, right? I'm going to start with the numbers, right? And the students will be able to hear it.
Un, 2, 3.
Um, un, deux, trois. Got it, right? However, what happens if I only do one by one, right? So,
Un,
um. See,
un,
there is very little context to work with, right? Then the pronunciation of becomes, you know, so many different possibilities that like I recommend doing the comments like un, deux, trois, right? So that's like I'm gonna say like the thing with the speech recognition, right? There are many things that sound the same. There are many homophones in French. So the more context you can give it, the better. Another thing you can do specifically in the world of French is tweak the settings here. So we have in the repeat settings, you can change the leniency from normal to very lenient, right? Or no leniency. But because again, the specific quirk of the French language, um, I would recommend starting with lots of leniency because you know Speakable will be very strict with pronunciation in French. So that's one thing I would recommend when it comes to pronunciation, particularly of the French language. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there are several things that are difficult about French. The pronunciation is the hardest. I myself have learned some French. I will not dare have a conversation with you at the moment. I think it's pretty rusty, but I also something else that I think at least for English speakers, French becomes is very difficult. Is the amount of conjugations. English is very simple in that way that the auxiliary does most of the heavy lifting, but in French you have to learn the individual conjugation of every single word, every single person. That's hard. There are many irregular verbs, so it's hard, but anyway, yep, that's something you can do. And Nancy, hello from Oregon. How could I use it for two-partner conversation? So this is an excellent question, and this is a question that I will respond with an asterisk because at the moment when we have the response card, which is what we talked about today for the most part, is tailored to single answers, right? So one answer, long or short, but one answer. But of course, as part of fluency, there is a very big component for conversations, right? In the end, that is the context in which we talk or we communicate in a different language. It's just to converse, with other people. So um, I cannot guarantee when this will be released because there's still some development left, but we are working on another student action that's going to emulate conversations. So it's not going to be like the response card here, which is one question, one answer, right? But it's going to be one situation rather than a question. So, for example, I am a very I am a believer of teaching teaching languages with a communicative objective in mind. So, I am not going to simply teach the past tense. No, today's objective is to say what I did last week. It's not because it's when we say the past tense is super abstract. No, I want a real world application of this, right? So I want my students to be able to use the past perfect. Okay, this is pretty abstract. So in which situation do we use the present perfect? What about the job interview? When we talk, oh, I have done this, I haven't done that. I have been working in this for many years. I try to find like a real world objective in which to do this. So the student action we're working on is you take a situation, and you tell Speakable what you want. Like, okay, I want my students to practice this in this context. For example, I want my students to be able to order food at the restaurant, right? So you give these variables to Speakable. Okay, the setting is a restaurant and your role is the waiter. And Speakable will take on the role of the waiter, and it will ask the students questions like, hey, um, what would you like to order? And the student's like, oh, I would like a pizza. Now, of course, what type of pizza would you like? I would like pepperoni pizza. Fantastic. What size? Yeah, excellent. And then would that be all? Yes. And when Speakable detects that the conversation is over, Speakable will provide corrections. What do I mean by this? And why towards the end? Well, remember, in a conversation, in a real conversation, if you're traveling abroad, the waiter will not correct you. So if you made a mistake, the waiter will not be like, "Excuse me, you what?" They will not do it, right? So it will be like it will simulate a real situation. So if you make mistakes, if the student makes mistakes, the waiter will still keep going. If the waiter understood, he will keep going. Um, and the corrections will be provided towards the end so that it is a fluency exercise. You focus on fluency, and then after you're done, okay, let's see if we can fix these mistakes, if we can correct them. And it will give the student a multiple choice question with the alternative so that they can choose what the correction for their own mistakes is. That way the corrections will not be left in the air, but the student will have to do something about it and be a participant of their own correction. Sorry. Something else that this conversation student action will do is, what if your students are too good? Yeah. So if your student is too good and they are doing very short work of the mission of ordering a pizza, then we are programming it so that the conversation partner, the waiter in this case, gives the students complications to solve. So, for example, if the student was very fluid and was like, "Oh yeah, I would like to order a pizza, please. What kind of pizza? Pepperoni pizza." Very quickly, then, "Oh, I'm sorry, we have run out of pepperoni. Is there any other type of pizza that you'd like?" So it would give the student a problem to solve, basically, if they are doing too well, so that they can still have something to challenge them, I guess. So this conversation partner, we haven't decided on the name. This will come soon, hopefully before the end of this year. I cannot guarantee that because there's a lot of development that goes into this. But to answer your question, Nancy, it's coming. Not right now, but it is coming. We will have this conversation partner in on Speakable. This is going to be Speakable and student, right? Not student to student. This is going to still be the student and the AI interacting and providing corrections. So yeah, that's, I guess, a long answer, but the real answer. Any other questions, comments? Maybe questions about something else. My favorite color is black, for example. I'm not sure. Any other things you'd like to learn about? All right. So, with this, we basically have come to a close, but I would like to finish off by saying, remember that tomorrow we have another one. Tomorrow's session is dedicated to Speakable for non-languages. So we have several teachers who are using Speakable to teach history or sciences or even financial topics. And we have actually this week we released an update that let's say makes Speakable more flexible for teachers who to look for more than just languages. So we're going to have a session on that. And on Friday, we're going to have, I guess, general tips and tricks session. So there are some things like what I mentioned today about like the un deux trois, for example, for French. Like there are some little tips and tricks that to use Speakable, in the best way possible, or let's say some limitations that some of the features have, and how to overcome them, or how to work around them, or if our students need a specific thing, how do we do it? We're going to explore the settings in detail. That is for Friday. So again, Speakable for non-languages tomorrow. General tips and tricks for Friday. And we're going to be releasing the plan for next week's webinars as well. The idea is to have lots of new topics, and we're going to repeat some of the most popular ones as well. So feel free to join. And the second invitation is, if you are interested in, checking Speakable with all of the features. And for example, some of the features that I mentioned today are for organizations, organization plans only, like the rubrics, for example. Then feel free to let me know, and we can get something set up for your school, so we can run a pilot program or something like that. That's something we could do. Yeah, I forgot I had a banner for this. So if you're curious on using this, not only for yourself but for your team of teachers, your school, or then let us know, and we will figure out a way to make it happen for your school and train everyone at the school so that everyone can use it in a pilot program to see if this is a tool you'd like in your arsenal for good. So let us know if you're curious on this. And with that, yep, that's all for today. Again, I'm going to open one more a few minutes for questions if you have any. And thank you, Nancy and Jill, for your active participation. Thank you, everybody who's watching on the different platforms. I know we have some viewers on YouTube, some viewers on StreamYard, some on Twitter, some, So hello, everyone, and welcome to Speakable. If you haven't tried this, then welcome to join all the webinars. We also have some videos on YouTube. If you are new, if you would like some basic tutorials, let us know as well. We can set up one-on-one training sessions as well. So thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. See you. Bye-bye.